In the world of women's football, brilliance often shines in silence. Among the stars who dominate headlines, there exists one whose light is just as bright, yet rarely spoken of with the same fanfare. That star is Mariona Caldentey. With elegance, intelligence, and a heart full of fire, Mariona has carved a unique path. Maria Francesca Caldentey, born in the quiet town of Felix, Mallorca on March 19, 1996, Mariona's journey began far from the bright lights of major stadiums. Her childhood was steeped in football traditions, growing up in a family that loved the sport. Her father, a local coach, was one of her earliest mentors, shaping her understanding of the game's nuances. Unlike many prodigies who are celebrated from the very beginning, Mariona's rise was subtle. Pitch was her canvas, and from a young age she was already painting masterpieces. By the time she was a teenager, she had already built a reputation on the island for being calm under pressure and dangerously creative. Scouts and coaches whispered her name with curiosity, wondering where this girl with the quiet fire would end up in her football journey. She joined UD Colorense, a club known for nurturing young talent, and that's where things began to accelerate. It was here that her tactical mind and technical elegance started to blossom under structured coaching. Even among talented peers, Mariona stood out, not because she was louder or flashier, but because everything she did on the pitch had intention. She played with a maturity well beyond her years, often orchestrating games like a seasoned conductor. She was a teenager with the mind of a veteran. In 2014, the dream took flight. Football Club Barcelona came calling, offering her a place in their ranks. For any young Spanish footballer, that offer is a life-changing moment. She joined Barca B and immediately impressed, quickly earning promotion to the senior team. In her early years at FC Barcelona, she was often used as a versatile midfielder and forward. Coaches marveled at her ability to play anywhere in the final third. Her right foot was cultured, her vision razor-sharp, and her decision-making rarely faltered. But perhaps her most underappreciated quality was her football intelligence. She didn't just play to her strengths, she adapted to the team's needs, always putting the collective above the individual. As Barcelona Femení grew into a dominant force in European football, Mariona was always there, silently contributing, consistently delivering. Over the years, she became an indispensable part of a golden generation at Barcelona. Alongside stars like Alexia Putellas, Aitana Bonmati, and Graham Hansen, Mariona was part of a midfield and attacking core that played some of the most beautiful football ever seen. But while others won individual accolades and press attention, Mariona quietly went about her business, consistently excellent, rarely celebrated. Her love was for the game, not the glamour, and in that humility, her greatness only grew. The breakthrough moment came in 2021 when Barcelona lifted their first-ever UEFA Women's Champions League trophy. It was a long-overdue recognition for years of hard work. For Mariona, it wasn't just about lifting the trophy, it was about vindication. All those hours, all those overlooked performances, they had led to this. And as Barcelona repeated the feat in 2023 and again in 2024, Mariona etched her name into history. 3 Champions League trophies in 4 consecutive years. Across those 3 campaigns, Mariona didn't just participate, she was vital. And yet, despite being one of only a handful of players to win 3 Champions Leagues, Mariona remained underrated. It was as if her elegance was too quiet to be noticed by the casual fan. After 10 years at FC Barcelona, Mariona Caldentey made the emotional decision to say goodbye. She had been there when Barca Femení were fighting for respect and still there when they conquered Europe. Her departure left a deep emotional mark, not only on supporters but also on her teammates and coaches. Players like Alexia, Patry, and Mappy had formed a sisterhood with her over years of triumph and struggle. The idea of Barcelona without Mariona felt incomplete, like a song missing its melody. She didn't just leave a club. She left behind a legacy written in assists, sacrifices, and moments that will forever live in the hearts of Queues. And still, despite all she had done, her exit barely made noise. Underrated until the very end. Mariona's next step took her far from the familiar warmth of Catalonia to the electric pulse of North London. When Arsenal came calling, she listened, not just because of their history or ambition, but because they saw her. After years of being quietly essential at Barcelona, here was a club ready to build around her experience and intelligence. The decision wasn't easy, changing countries, leagues, and leaving behind lifelong friendships. But deep down, Mariona knew she still had more to give. Arsenal offered not only a fresh challenge, but something she hadn't felt in a long time, being truly valued as a leader and game changer. Her arrival at Arsenal sent a quiet but powerful message. Jonas Eidevall described her as a player who elevates everyone around her, and it didn't take long for fans to see what he meant. In her first few months, Mariona transformed the tempo of Arsenal's midfield, adding control, experience, and unpredictability. She wasn't there to replace anyone. She was there to create a new identity. Mariona's first season in the Women's Super League was a quiet storm. While some doubted how she'd adapt to the physicality and pace of the English game, she quickly silenced any questions. Week after week, she delivered polished performances, dictating tempo, slicing through defenses, and linking play with trademark elegance. Arsenal fans began to realize they had something special. And when the European nights returned, so did Mariona's best self, the one she had ruled in silence for years. Her Champions League journey with Arsenal began in dramatic fashion, a quarter-final tie against Real Madrid. It was her return to Spanish soil, facing a rising rival of her former club, and the pressure was immense. Back in London for the second leg, she turned conductor, picking apart Madrid's midfield and helping Arsenal seal progression. The headlines praised others, but the soul of Arsenal's success lay in her control. The semi-final brought even stiffer competition. Lyon, the queens of European dominance. It was a two-legged war of endurance, and Arsenal needed someone who had lived through nights like this before. In the second leg, she scored a crucial goal with a curling shot from the edge of the box. Arsenal edged through, and Mariona was praised internally as the difference maker. She had led teams to Champions League finals before, but this time felt different. Then came the final. Arsenal versus FC Barcelona. Fate, irony, poetry, call it what you will, but the football gods had set the stage perfectly. Facing the club she had given a decade to, the one she had quietly left, the one where she had lifted 3 Champions League trophies. In the tunnel before kickoff, she stood across from Alexia Putellas, Aitana Bonmati, and others she once called family. And when the whistle blew, she played like a woman on a mission, not for revenge, but for validation. And in the 74th minute, Arsenal scored a crucial goal to win their second trophy in history. And the score remained unchanged until the end of the match. Arsenal were champions of Europe for the second time, and Mariona Caldentey had just won her 4th Champions League title, 3 with Barca, now 1 against them. Tears welled up in her eyes as she embraced former teammates. There was no gloating, no revenge, just gratitude. She had become a symbol of excellence that transcended borders. Mariona had orchestrated the final like a seasoned conductor. Her intelligence, her calm, her impact, all of it undeniable. Still, the word underrated followed her like a shadow. But that's what makes her special. She doesn't need the spotlight, she creates it for others. And when the biggest games come, she shows the world quietly, powerfully, why she was always the chosen one. Mariona Caldentey's story isn't just about trophies, assists, or big nights under stadium lights. It's about quiet greatness. She was never the loudest, never the most hyped, but always the one who made the difference. From a young girl in Mallorca to a legend at Barcelona, and now a champion with Arsenal, she has defied the shadows cast over her. In a football world obsessed with headlines, she wrote her own legacy in subtle genius. And now, with 4 Champions League titles, countless domestic honors, and a new chapter unfolding in England, her legacy is untouchable.